Rosenfeld gallery and take a look at Naked at the Edge, featuring the work of Eilshemius and Bob Thompson. Well, when I saw that they were having a two-person show featuring a couple of my kind of favorite obscure artists, I decided I'd have to pop in. This is Adam and Eve by Bob Thompson, gouache on printed paper. This is Untitled by Bob. Gouache on 2 sheets of paper from an art history book. Untitled. Michelangelo's Fall of Phaeton, 1963. Well, we're just going to kind of briskly run through this. Bob Thompson is someone that I always kind of found interesting. I think he was from maybe South Carolina, North Carolina, came to New York during a transitional period. This is titled Bather and Red Bird, 1960. Okay, there's the bird. And it's nice, although these tree trunks look like they're just kind of dark, there's actually blues and greens and raw umbers. Anyway, Bob was an African-American artist, came to New York and sort of fell in with a group of people, mostly hanging around Provincetown, who were kind of trying to get the figure back into art. This is titled Simon and Ifengina, 1964. That's 9 by 12 inches. Anyway, there was a group of people that he fell in with. John Mueller, Lester Johnson were a couple of the better known ones. And he kind of caught fire. It's titled Stairway to the Stars, 1962. This is interesting because it's actually got a photograph in the back. You can sort of see the exit ramp from an airline there. But I think what was interesting, not only with him, but with a lot of those people from that particular milieu, is that they were using a lot of the kind of the brushwork and the expressionistic paint handling of the abstract expressionists, but they were trying to kind of hammer that into kind of a mythical, figurative thing. And these figures with these black hats kind of pop up regularly in the early paintings. This is titled The Milky Way, 1964. So Bob was hanging around with people like Red Grooms and Alan Capro, some of the other early people on the Lower East Side, and a lot of the jazz musicians. Okay, this is a good example of what attracted me. You've got these weird figures, but he's also playing with these nice large areas of flat color. This is 1963. I think another thing that's interesting is that Bob would often take his compositions from classic paintings from the masters, people like Rubens, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Van Dyck. This is titled The Ascension, and I like the kind of the gray tones of this. This is something that he cribbed from a Van Dyck painting. It's titled Charles, but you can see where he's got a nice color sense, brisk handling. This is another early piece, and you've got the figures in the black hats. This is untitled, 1959. And I like the surfaces. Well, there's also a tragic aspect to Bob's career. You know, he was hanging out with jazz musicians, and I guess he developed a substance abuse problem. And in certain ways, it's kind of like Jean-Michel Basquiat about 20 years before. He became a superstar and was traveling around, going to Europe, and at some point, I believe, died of a heroin overdose at a young age, maybe 35, 38, something like that. This is untitled. It's 1958-59, Untitled Mountains. Now this is something that's unusual. It's kind of a mandala, Untitled 1964. This is 16 by 12 inches, and we've got the little yellow figures splayed out. Now, this is probably the largest piece in the show and maybe the latest, but this is from the period that I'm familiar with. We can see those hot colors, the magentas, the pinks, vermilions. It's titled The Golden Ass. And Bob has a great way of layering his colors on. And, some of this looks very simple, but he really had a kind of a natural sensibility for his palette and also just his approach to painting. It's titled Untitled Nativity. Also, again, kind of a simplified classic composition, but nice colors. He's able to kind of abstract the forms. It's a beautiful, tiny little piece. Untitled 1962, oil on board, 5 7/8 by 4 inches. Well, we'll go look at the Louis Eilshemius part of the show now. Well, I'm a big fan of outsider art, and you would call Louis Eilshemius an outsider, kind of an eccentric artist. Now, I first bumped into his work, that's probably about 15 years ago, and they had a show of his work at the National Academy uptown. This is Untitled. And, well, he was an eccentric painter. most of these works are on board or on paperboard, and he's got a very nice kind of brushy handling, but you can see by his figures that he lacked something as far as anatomy. This is untitled Nude at Bath. A couple of the interesting features are that he always puts, or not always, but a lot of the times he paints a frame on the paintings. You know, he's doing a lot of kind of overlaying of very thin layers of paint, and you know, the figures have a strange kind of eerie quality. Evidently he was painting for years and was totally unrecognized, unknown. People just thought he was a nut. This is Untitled Girl with a Picture. And I guess at the Exhibition of Independent Artists in 1917, the famous exhibition where Duchamp's fountain, his urinal, was submitted. This was one of the times that Eilshemius was actually able to exhibit, and Duchamp discovered his work and thought he was an unrecognized genius. The other thing that's interesting is that as Eilshemius seems to go along, his signature gets bigger and bigger. Now, I think he lived until the early 40s, but he gave up painting after 1920. And strangely enough, they're almost a school of painters that have sprung up in New York maybe since the days of Neo-Expressionism that are kind of biting on this kind of strange, eccentric outsider thing. This is Untitled, 39 by 29, oil on paperboard mounted on masonite. And, well, I think that he probably thought he was getting into some kind of neoclassical thing like a Pulva de Cavenet or some of the other neoclassical painters, but somewhere it went wrong. This is great. It's also Untitled Sea Monster Samoa. And, well, aside from the fact that his anatomy is kind of odd, there is a great kind of a consistent color sense that he uses that is nice, and it's just, you know, this is good, bad painting. This is an interesting piece. It has more of a blue tint to it. Shining Waters, 1920, oil on paperboard mounted on masonite. And it's also kind of an abstract quality there. Like I said, the signature is getting bigger and bigger. Well, evidently, when he was discovered by Duchamp, he was kind of shocked, and suddenly he's getting a lot more attention than he ever got from any time before, and also people are sort of implying certain kinds of maybe intellectual, almost Dadaist approaches to the work. I think this could be my favorite piece in the show. It's a very strange one. Untitled Figure in a Moonlit Landscape, and yeah, we've got this bizarre merman and a girl that's sort of gesturing towards these lights in a strange building. The Albert Pinkham Ryder Seascape. Okay, now tell me, students, what is wrong with the figure in this piece? Actually, that's nice. It just looks like her head is kind of in the wrong place. Untitled Nymph and Flowers, 1916, oil on paperboard mounted on fiberboard, 40 by 61 inches. And there is some nice, just very competent painting, broad areas of brushy, thin layers of paint. It's very nice. Untitled Pan Playing the Flute. Now I looked at the gallery guide on this, and a piece like this is $125,000. Louis M. Eilshemius, Vitis, 1915, 33 by 22. I like this piece because we've got like this blue ribbon contrasted against the yellow-green ribbon, against the red ribbon, and then he kind of outlines the figures in those colors. And, well, we'll wrap up looking at this. Untitled Pagan Rites, 1916. And I like the kind of the mauve violent shadows on the face there. Well, it's a kind of a strange but very fitting combination of these two artists. And this has been James Kalm reporting on Naked Near the Edge, featuring the works of Bob Thompson and Louis Eilshemius here at the Michael Rosenfeld Gallery. Thank you, Kate. Oh, nice, nice.